Good morning, and what a beautiful sunny spring morning it is today. I want to talk to you about the development of extremism in Irish politics. And when I'm talking about extremism, I'm talking unfortunately about many of our mainstream parties. Extremism is often associated with the development of social media and the fact that people have access to often inaccurate information and a very harsh climate of criticism that often develops in social media. But I actually think that extremism also develops where a mainstream narrative is not properly challenged and where you do not have a media which is going to challenge the precepts of modern thinking. The Irish Freedom Party, the party to which I belong, is often accused of being an extremist party. But in reality, our positions are very, very mainstream. They're based on rationality and they're based on careful analysis. Practically every policy which we espouse would have been considered absolutely mainstream up to 4 or 5 years ago. And I think it is true to say that modern politics, not just in Ireland but throughout the West, has developed an extremist tilt and is losing touch often with reality because of a lack of careful analysis. I want to give you some examples. In regard to immigration, our policy is that we should allow immigration where we have specific employment needs and where there is genuine asylum seekers requiring protection, that we should protect them. However, that does not mean that we should adopt an open door policy, nor does it mean, in accordance with the policies espoused by all parties of government under the Ireland 2040 programme, that we should allow a massive level of immigration to take place in our country, which is completely unjustified by any of this country's own needs. That plan, in case you're not aware of it, suggests an immigration level of 1 million people into this country over the next 20 years or so, which is an unprecedented level of immigration into Ireland at a time when native Irish people have a very low birth rate, which is below replacement level. The second area I would just want to look at briefly is the European Union. The Irish Freedom Party is often accused of being extreme in this regard. We are certainly a Eurosceptic party. We do want to open a debate about the future of Ireland outside of the European Union, and indeed the future of the European Union itself, which we do believe is under threat, not just from countries like Ireland, but from many others. And I think you should contrast this with the very slavish position adopted by Irish governments during the Brexit negotiations, where we were played really by the main powers of Europe, namely France and Germany, and we acted directly against our own interests. Britain is by far our biggest single trading partner, and yet we did not seek to give Britain a good deal when they first looked for it before the Brexit vote. We more or less drove them into a corner where Britain was likely to vote for our Brexit, which they did. And when they did, we certainly did not represent Ireland's interests in those negotiations. I would regard that as quite an extreme position to take. In regard to the present lockdown, is it not extreme to close all churches, to prohibit the worship of God, to prohibit open debate through public demonstrations, to incarcerate and imprison people and fine people very heavily for appearing in public to protest? These are certainly very extreme positions. We argued almost from the beginning, from 3 weeks after the beginning of the lockdown, that we had to have a more nuanced approach and that we had to target those who were specifically at risk, but that we should not destroy our economy, and above all, we should not destroy our hard-won freedoms and liberties in order to fight this virus. The government, on the other hand, has created and dwelled on a climate of fear, often not based on rationality, not based on a proper cost-benefit analysis, and not based on a scientific examination of the facts. In regard to vaccines, we believe that there should be no coercion in regard to vaccines. We believe that the people should have the right to decide to refuse to accept medical intervention if that is what they believe is right for them. But the government and the European Union is moving to a position of vaccine passports, which will effectively be coercion. This is not warranted by the level of risk to which most people are subjected under COVID-19. And again, it is not a reasoned or a rational position to take. In regard to climate change, the recent heads of bills for the Climate Action Bill would suggest that Ireland must reduce its carbon emissions by 51% over 9 years. That's an extraordinary level of attack against our economy. It will cause extraordinary pain to many, many people. At the same time as the government has introduced a bill to protect rural, or a program to protect rural Ireland, they are engaging on a climate policy which will absolutely destroy the rural economy. Um, in this regard, we should point out that the government contains somebody who has tried to, or who has advocated for the reintroduction of wolves to the west of Ireland, the almost total banning of cars in the west of Ireland, and who made the ridiculous claim that COVID-19 was related to climate. Um, these are the people, by the way, who accuse us of extremism and irrational thinking and conspiracy theories, and I think they really should look to themselves. I think that if you do us the service of looking carefully at our policies, you will find that the Irish Freedom Party is a calm, moderate, and rational party. And we would ask for your support in promoting those views. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Michael Leahy of the Irish Freedom Party.